Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to day 2 of the WGL Grand Finals, where today we will crown a champion and they will take home $150,000. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to everybody here in Warsaw, Poland. We have a packed house once again. I'm your host, Joshua Gray, on the expert desk, and I'm joined once again by Jordy. A new addition for right now, we have Will Frampton joining us, along with Mojo and Ola. Ola, first off, we have some more prizes we're giving away today.
That's right. So team vote is already on in our Facebook page, WGL EU. So you can vote for your team that you think will win. And you have to predict the exact score line. And from all voters who do it right, one lucky person will get a Razer Galeathos branded World of Tanks mousepad and one of 20 bonus codes that we're giving out right away.
Now, our first matchup is going to be Kazna. You got to commentate some of the other matches on the other stream, and you got to see some domination coming from Schoolbus yesterday.
Yeah, Schoolbus played roulette. They were very impressive, especially on the first map that we're going to see today, which I believe is Steps. They rushed very aggressively into the north. They pushed hard, and they basically outplayed roulette.
We saw a lot of 5-0s, 5-1s, and 5-2s yesterday. A lot of domination from the European and CIS teams. Yato still in the fight, coming from China. Their aggression has kept them alive, but it becomes predictable. So they're going to have to maybe reinvent themselves on the next, or over the last 24 hours in order to continue to fight here. But were there any other surprises, Jordy or Mojo, from yesterday?
I think most matches were as we expected. The only match where we were really interesting to see was Virtus.pro against SC6, which SC6 won. So that was the only surprise, but we kind of expected it. But with the amount of 5-0s, we can just see how strong all these teams are. And I think in the second day, when these really strong teams start facing each other, we're going to see some really, really crazy action.
I was only surprised by such strong defeat of Kazna by Hellraisers 5-0. I never expected that in life. I don't know why they agreed to play Ruinberg. Hellraisers are known and really strong team on city maps, and Ruinberg is one of those. And Himmelsorg, they are like biggest inventors of tactics, them and arcade in all the servers. So that was not a wise choice. Today's a different story.
Today's a different story. Today is a different day. What some teams learned yesterday, hopefully they can adapt today. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the brackets. It's turning into a single elimination bracket today. Teams that win do move on. Teams that lose are out of the tournament. And the first matchup will be Kazna Crew versus Schoolbus, followed by EL Gaming versus WP Santa Claus 6, a team that has surprised all of us. We still have not seen them on the main stage yet, but if they continue to dominate, we possibly could see them later today. Navi versus Virtus.pro. This is a rematch coming from last year where Virtus.pro took second place against Navi, and we're looking forward to the rest of the bracket to continue throughout the day today. And this is going to be the main story. Winner continues, loser goes home, and these teams are going to see some heartbreak, especially if they can't get the right maps. And that's what we saw from Kazna Crew yesterday. The Ruinberg catastrophe. You made that prediction. Himmelsdorf, if Hellraiser had it, they would win. It was Ruinberg instead, but that city map really worked for them. And I'm afraid that Kazna Crew will make the same mistake today, but they may have learned not to have underestimated the map choices.
I think Kazna, their map choices yesterday were questionable. I think today, I hope they evaluated yesterday and saw that what maps they really need to ban. Himmelsdorf and Ruinberg, I think they need to get away from most teams because they're going to have a really hard time if they're not completely on form, like we saw at Hellraisers. Other than that, I think Kazna has a pretty good chance against Schoolbus, though. The maps that are picked is a rematch of the last finals, so it's going to be really crazy.
Yeah, that Virtus.pro Navi match is one that I'm definitely looking forward to. And we saw a lot of people rooting for both sides of the teams last year. And then Virtus.pro this year, we've talked about a bit of the struggle they've had, either trying to reinvent themselves or trying to move into the 7x54 format. It's not an easy task, but a lot of the interviews that Paul did, the post-game interviews, he would ask that question: how hard has the transition been for your team to move over to 7x54? And they've said it's been better. It's a better experience, it's a better format, and teams have been able to adapt well so far. Unfortunately, all the American teams are out, which kind of ends the storyline for America, so hopefully they can take some games next year. But now that storyline, that bullseye on the back of Navi, could end if Virtus.pro is able to take it. And that would be quite an upset as well. So a number of upsets are still on the line for a lot of these teams. Will, any other matches that you saw on the other stream that really kind of piqued your interest for some of these teams we may see here today?
Gosh, Santa Claus taking the win yesterday was very impressive. They had a dominant T49 driver. that literally changed the momentum of the game completely. We were seeing games on Prohorovka. Defender teams were dominant. The defender teams went 4-0 effectively. So going into the second map, it was 2-2 neck and neck going into Cliff, I believe. What we saw is the T49 broke the other team.
Yeah.
And that was it. And then from there on, Santa Claus really just went all in and they dominated.
Well, I'm excited about that because I love to see some more T49 play here on this stage. And ladies and gentlemen, we're ready to introduce our first two teams. Let's throw it over to Paul.
Thank you very much, Josh, and the guys at the analysis desk. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the quarterfinals. It is do or die time now. Win and go through, lose, you go home. That's it now. We're into the quarterfinal knockout stages. Our first game is a repeat of the European Championship final from season 5. And our first team are the reigning European champions. Please welcome Kazna crew. And as we said, they are playing a repeat of the European Championship final. Their opponents are the men in yellow and black. Please give it up for Schoolbus!
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, our first two teams prepped and ready. They're going to jump on their stations and finalize their preparations. We talk about these two teams. One thing I want to take note of right now is the smiles on Kazna crew's faces. That's already a difference compared to yesterday, so I think they're a little bit more excited about the map choices for this first series. Kazna crew, been around for a little while. Mojo used to be a member of Kazna crew. With that type of mentality today, is it a better day for Kazna crew in day 2?
They had time to sleep it over. They're good friends. They talked, and now they will give their best. And from the bands they saw, they banned both Himmelstraat and Ruimberg.
Good, 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 good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and take a look at Kazna crew.
Milan, you have confirmed your place in tomorrow. I can see into the future. How does that make you feel?
Well, it makes us feel really well. But I think that feeling really made problems for us in our last match because we played the opening match of the tournament, we won it, then immediately watched the other match in our group. We saw that we qualified after it, and then we completely, I think, relaxed and went into this game not on full, not with 100%. So, but tomorrow is a completely new day. Group stages are over. Tomorrow the pressure is much higher because both teams qualified now. There was no pressure in this game. So tomorrow when pressure kicks in, I think we will perform much better than the last match. We must play our best game, best strategy, best lineups if we want to win them.
He's right about one thing, the passion is definitely higher today, and that's because the stakes are higher today. Kazna crew is a team that has a lot of potential, and that's a word that we use a little bit here on the expert desk, but it's true. This is a team that can go the distance, but they have to overcome the struggles and being tilted. And that's an attitude adjustment. That's an emotional adjustment. That's not something that you can fix on a computer or fix on the battlefield. That's an internal thing. And it's also a communication thing. So hopefully Kazna crew can overcome a bit of the difficulty they had yesterday.
Well, yesterday we could see they went down 2 rounds very heavy against Hellraisers. And after that, we all saw what happened. They stopped talking to each other. The looks on their face, no more smiles. Not like what Kazna crew is, heavy communication. We saw nothing. And after that, they just went full tilt. And they weren't playing together anymore. Today, I hope they take a really good start because it's important for them to start well and take the first round. And then they have the momentum behind them.
And that first round will be played on steps. The second map will be Prohorovka. That type of momentum, that good first foot forward is definitely something that they need. Mojo, anything else to add for Kazna Crew?
Definitely, I think they can win this. In the previous engagements they always had the kind of like 2-2 scores with Schoolbus on these maps, and they're always tight. Both teams are enhanced by new players now, but I think Kazna actually is better bonded with theirs, so we will see.
All right, Schoolbus will be their opponents. Schoolbus, as you said earlier, will dominate it on the community stream, and hopefully they will play tight and together and play their game. Arclit most likely in an Artie. Let's go ahead and take a closer look at Schoolbus.
Alex, you've already secured your place in tomorrow. How does that feel?
It feels great because this was our plan all along. We wanted to go through this day without any complications. We didn't have anything like too hard of a game, but we did have some stumbles during the Chinese intervention, and we went through it. We were okay, and now we are just happy we're in next day.
Now, today, from the games that have been played, is there anything that you've seen, anything that you've been able to learn from looking at the other teams play?
Yeah, we definitely saw that this Russian strategy from Chinese region, it's very effective if you complete it with some tactical advancements. So we will be using it for our own.
Now, we spoke earlier with Dmitry from Navi, and he said that you were one of the teams to look out for. Do you think that Navi can be taken from their throne from winning last year?
Yeah, definitely. Because everybody saw what Navi are capable of. Everybody was preparing for them, and there are a lot of competitive teams in this tournament.
Schoolbus was maybe thrown from the bus a little bit from the aggression of Yato. With that type of aggression, how likely is Schoolbus able to adapt, not just to the Chinese team, but any teams that they face today? Are they an adaptable team, or are they a team that sticks to their guns and sticks to their game, and because of that can be too rigid compared to what their opponents bring?
Well, Schoolbus has a very particular playstyle. Sometimes they play with RT, so they know how to deal with aggression, because a lot of teams like to go heavy aggression when they see an RT. So they're a team that knows how to counteract that aggression and use it to their own advantage. You'll see them rush one point of the map and take that very heavy, even with an RT, to get them in that position, which the other team doesn't expect.
And we saw that yesterday. We saw them push towards Yato, give them a taste of their own medicine, and they did take that series. Now they have the higher seed against Kazna Crew, and because of that, because of maybe that boost of confidence, they can feel they can be a little more aggressive against Kazna. They can feel they can dictate the pace of the battlefield a little bit easier, a little bit better, especially in the first map. But we don't know what's going to happen in the first battle, and that really, we feel, kind of sets the pace. Schoolbus overall has been using probably Artie more than any other team this weekend. Is that going to change, or is that going to stay the same? Because I love seeing Artie on steps.
I think Arclit feels so confident in that RT. He's played it the entire season as well. He feels so confident that he can make the shots and help his team with hitting them, that he's going to play it. I don't think he cares if it's Navi or Kazna Crew. He will play the RT and he will be dominant.
And there you see Arclit, one of the players from Schoolbus, and then Alien from Kazna Crew. Some highlighted stats, very significant damage per game for both players. But you have to think about the static shots coming from Artie, and a lot of times those scout tanks getting behind or getting close to Arclit and then taking them out of the game. That's the high risk, high reward of having that type of tank.
Yesterday we saw Roulette try and put a lot of pressure on him when he was playing his artillery, and he picked it all 4 games on steps, which is the first map that we're going to see today. I expect that we're going to see that kind of same pressure on him, try to stop him from taking those pivotal locations where he can actually hide himself, get himself into the game, and then put the pressure on.
Now both these teams have a lot of history from Season 5, is that correct, Mojo?
Definitely. The match during the season was lost for Kazna, 5-3. They also played steps there, 5-3. And, in finals, Kazna lost first match and fell immediately to loser bracket, 5-1 to Schoolbus. But they rose back, won all teams on the way, and finally won Schoolbus 7-5.
Not forgetting to mention that both in the season and in the finals, Arclit was playing at artillery. And he saved a few rounds for them, even in the season, by hiding in specific
yes, but
spots.
he also costed them a few rounds.
Yes, but he also
it's
won
an
the
Jesus
yeah.
all the way.
Depends if he hits or not. But he can change the game, because sometimes teams are even afraid to push into him because he's that arty.
He went tank destroyer mode there, went straight in, pulled off a good shot, and then when he was reloading, rammed the opponent and held them in place.
He knows how to play his arty perfectly. He makes those shots, and he's not afraid to go over a rail and go TD mode and take the shot, even if he dies for it.
He still gets into the engagements when he needs to. He's not. You'll see some arty players with not that much experience say, oh, I'm in trouble, I'm under pressure, I'm in trouble, and they're expecting their team to bail them out. Arclit can hold his own, at least in a 1v1, it seems.
Yesterday they actually lost one game because in Morovanka, Apple went to help him and they both sold out the rest of their team. Because Yato saw that and just went and killed everyone else.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you can vote for which team you want to win by going to thegrandfinals.com, and make sure to send in your tweets on social media using the hashtag #TheGrandFinals. Ola's going to be standing by all day today to tell you how you can win some codes and some awesome prizes. And now it's time to throw it to our commentators. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Josh, and the rest of the analysis desk. The first game today, ticketed as one of our big matches. Two European teams, two teams super familiar with each other, Ruku. It's going to be a blockbuster.
Yeah, we've seen them play in the past. We've seen Kazna come out on top before. But this is a place where things can really change. We're all worried whether or not Kazna is going to be on par today. And if they're able to play against Schoolbus at the way they're playing right now, I really have to favor Schoolbus at the beginning of this. But I don't know. There are a few points to make about how Kazna could have turned this around. You know, we were talking about how they might have gotten a good night's sleep. If they've gotten themselves settled, a few people are saying Kazna's going to take this.
Yeah, see, Kazna historically don't have great first days. They sort of come in with a particular attitude that's maybe a little bit more relaxed. Once they start to tighten up the screws and focus a bit more, things start to work in their favor a little bit more. Like, for example, Season 5 finals. First day, they went up against Schoolbus in the first match and got trounced. 5-1, drops them down to the losers bracket. They made their way through the losers bracket, including a massive win over Virtus Pro, and then the grand final was an amazing match, of course. This is a rematch of the Season 5 finals in Sofia, Bulgaria. First map, we saw Morovanka, where Kazna actually had already just sort of wrecked Virtus Pro on. 3-1. Proc was the second map and went to 4-4, and then Cliff was the decider. Crucially here, Cliff has been banned, and so is Morovanka by Schoolbus. So they don't want to let Kazna have their maps. So of course, we're on the map of steps here, Rukul, and it's going to be, I think, Kazna crew defending first.
Yes, it will. That's going to give them a good place to start this. They can slow things down, really collect themselves, and figure out what their opponent's going to bring to them.
All right, so it's time to start our first game of the day. Quarterfinal number 1, ladies and gentlemen. Kazna crew going up against Schoolbus. This is do or die. From this point on, it's elimination. And you can see those Kazna crew faces. Stony, as you like, Betso already barking out commands. These guys are ready to roll. Look out for Elian, look out for Hybrid as well, and keep an eye on Arclit as well. See if he tries to take that Artie. And let's see if Kazna can resist the urge to try and focus down that Artie, because they get themselves caught out like that a few times before against Schoolbus.
All right, we do have Arclit in the M44 to start this off. He is known to be an excellent arty player. We'll see if he's going to be allowed to get work done. Of course, there are times, no matter how hard you try, you just cannot find that shot. And at the beginning of the day like this, I think it is the perfect time as well to bring an M44. Right when teams are warming up, getting used to each other, battles are going to be slightly slower. Everyone's going to be just a little bit behind their ideal timings until they feel comfortable. But Kazna crew, there's a large force going to the west right now and trying to set up just for maybe a little ambush. I'm trying to maybe look to see, is Schoolbus going to go up the west? Can we catch maybe a scout, maybe a few tanks out? Or can we sneak into the backfield, maybe find that M44 and transition while everyone's going to head east? We do have spotting from one of the Walker Bulldogs out of Kazna.
This is actually a Russian counter, this one here, where we often see Kazna crew going down this side of the map. Often you'll see teams like we play aggressively push up that western side, but you got to remember Schoolbus, well, they're not exactly cut from that exact same cloth. Ruster is in a good position. This is where you want to be if you're him. However, if he gets surrounded, it's going to be a little bit tricky for him. He needs some follow-up from Kazna if a firefight is going to occur on that side of the map.
I have to say, as a Nuclear, perfect positioning to get a bounce off of the shell from Ruster. He's going to be able to move up. I like this low ground position. He's going to be able to pressure on Ruster, maybe move up in just a little bit to try and find that alternate angle, because we do see shells coming in.
This is not good. This is not good. Arclit obviously will get vision on this and can obviously fire on his position. This is a position you don't want to be in when artillery is trained on you.
And
Look at
44 is
Kazna
spotted.
Now coming across the map, artillery spotted. Will they go for it? To be fair, Arclit isn't that well defended. Ruster is getting hammered right now. What can Kazna do to turn this around? Some shots are coming across. Applewell getting choked down. Hyper picks him up. That was a very quick turnaround.
Yeah, Kazna's in a great position right now. Schoolbus is not far enough forward. They need to be at least 100 meters north every single tank. They need to be farther along in this strategy because they have allowed Kazna to get around behind them, and Arclit is very low. Shanish, way in the back, gets tracked, has to burn his kit for just that.
Ruster is a thorn in the side of Schoolbus right now. You can see Nuclear actually committing to that hill to try and just get him out of there, and he does. He gouges him out of that spot. Now Nuclear can sit there as well with Kazna. They can start to close in there a little bit. You can see in the north the T-54 coming across. Shanish is also pushing out across. Hyper takes down Arclit as well. So that's the Artie off the map.
Yeah, and now we have Schoolbus getting onto the eastern cap, but this isn't the strongest position. Kazna can still take something just as strong if they can get some of this high ground, use the defilade to get into position, and then surround their opponent. Schoolbus has to put pressure on the cap. They don't have a lot of options.
Okay, FC Dynamo getting hammered on the cap. This is the Kazna we were looking for yesterday. Vorsik is going to have to back out as well. FC Dynamo continue to get chunked. Here's the push on. LD Nexus takes down Dynamo. Eastay at the 4 as well. In the Walker Bulldog. Vorsik going to get jumped on by Vetso as well. Kazna are all over this. Nuclear is in an excellent spot right now, but can he follow up?
No.
There aren't enough people on Schoolbus to hold on.
No, there's just not enough guns left on the battlefield. When Kazna decided to execute, they did not wait on any flank. Everyone moved all at once. The pressure was too much, and Schoolbus did not bring enough firepower. The artillery, Arclit, was not allowed to do his job and not given enough time.
Nuclear still up in that little spot. We'll be able to pick up Highway. We get pushed onto by LD Nexus here. It's just a matter of time until Schoolbus are going to drop in this first map. And that's a great start for Kazna. We've spoken a few times here. Nuclear, it's just not going to last too long. First game to the Kazna crew. And this is good. We've said this yesterday. They are a momentum-based team. If they can get off to a good start on a map that they are reasonably comfortable on, they can start to put rounds together. And this is this is a more familiar side to them if we're going from the Season 5 finals.
Yeah, they were going much faster than I was expecting. I thought it would take them a few seconds more. They might hesitate and try and do some long-range fire for maybe 30, 40 seconds before trying that engagement, but they decided not to wait, not let Schoolbus find an answer. And when they did that, I think it was the right move because Schoolbus was not prepared.
Yeah, and despite the fact that Ruster was sort of taking a lot of damage early on in the round, Schoolbus on steps is hard to protect an artillery piece, especially against a team that is roaming around the map that much as well, especially when you've got two Walker Bulldogs. Those things are fast and they love to eat artillery for breakfast.
On top of that, they can take down the arty and then follow that up by engaging against another tank. A lot of time you'll see a single fire tank like the T-54 Lightweight have to take on that arty, use 2 shells, and that's a lot of time it takes and a lot of damage that could have been put into any other member of Schoolbus. Would have been more effective, and that can work against them. Walker Bulldogs, that's why I love them. They can engage multiple targets and help finish off tanks, deal with lower hit point tanks like artillery and some tank destroyers that you'll see from time to time. I have to agree, Walker Bulldog's absolutely perfect for steps.
Arclit on your screen there, the captain and caller for Schoolbus. Obviously, they made on that artillery in that last game, so we'll have to see Vorsik to his right and there's Shanish as well. Whether that's going to be the plan here, you can see, I'm sure there's a plan B for these guys. They know, they're so familiar with Kazna. They've played them so many times in the regular season as well, which I might say they played on match day 1 in the regular season. It was a 5-3 victory to Schoolbus. So in the past, more recently, Kazna seemed to get the better of them, but this is really a 50-50 matchup.
Yeah, I think Schoolbus didn't expect this at all. They're really thrown off right now. They are going to be able to take this back, though. I don't think it's going to be a big problem for them to adjust. Understand that Kazna isn't still waking up, that they have had their cup of joe in the morning and they will be here ready to fight. They can slow it down. Little adjustments to the strategy we saw last time. You can put the M44 further to the south. From there, put a larger perimeter, scout out a little bit, and try and let Arclit do his job. If he can do that, then we can see something good. But there are some counters we could see out of Kazna. If Kazna expects this, they could also bring something a little bit hardier, healthier, so that they can just rush straight into their opponent.
Well, that's the question. Does Schoolbus have to go for maybe a little bit more of a passive style now because they need to protect Arclit? You know, if they're going to do that, it's going to give them the less potential to sort of roam around the map. It's not an FV304. That M44 is not the fastest tank in the game and always needs that sort of protection. The problem is that when you commit to the valley like that, there are honestly about 140 degrees of flank that can sort of be attacked by it, and a Walker Bulldog will always push through. We're into game 2, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see if Kazna can make it a 2-0. Can Schoolbus make it 1 apiece? Hyber, a little bit of a smile. We said that, you know, Kazna liked to be focused, but even Isne and Eurofish as well, looking a little bit brighter this morning. Good Schoolbus as well. You can see Applewell right up in his monitor as well. Likes to get close to his screen, and already a few initial commands coming out. Also Shanish as a secondary caller for them. What do we got here tank-wise?
All right, we still have Arclit in the M44, a lot of T54 lightweights, and then of course you have an RU played by FC Dynamo. I like the Walker Bulldogs again from Kazna, and this time they're going to roll out going south and sending only one Walker Bulldog off far west, and then a little bit of a opening scout run out of Haiba. I like that. It's safe, not overcommitting, but unfortunately not able to gain any intel because his timing was actually a little too fast for what Schoolbus was doing.
You can see Schoolbus a little bit slower about it this time around. Applewell will be the man at the 4 who does finally spot Haiba there. So Haiba was sort of just poking up that defilade a little bit there.
Yeah, he's just coming right up, just showing the minimal exposure of his tank, just getting the turret right up and over. He is spotted though, and I'd have to say Schoolbus's positioning was perfect to try and just counter out that scout, get him spotted, not get spotted in return. However, I believe there was one member of Schoolbus spotted that could be enough of an indication. Kazna could make some decisions off of this, but you can see they're in a trap position right now as Nuclear is going to go forward. He could head off into the ditch, and if he does that, look at that 745 damage, 1,000, and he's gonna have to get out of here. This is absolutely perfect. Kazna has gotten their trap off. They've done the damage, but they haven't gotten the kill.
Nuclear getting chunked now as he walks into essentially what was the trap. I mean, only a little bit of information was really gained by Schoolbus there on those initial runs, and now Kazna crew have got the initial damage down. They can now follow up on it. Where Schoolbus trying to punch pretty much up towards mid here, staying together as a unit. Arclit surrounded by a phalanx of tanks here, but look at the damage coming across. Well, actually, that was team damage, to be fair. Kazna matching them as well, moving their way up the valley, going to make sure they can catch them on the side of the hill before they can get there. This is really slow movement from Schoolbus across the map. Arclit stopping dead.
And he is aiming up. It looked like he was looking slightly northeast, predicting the counter out of Kazna, predicting their motion up to the north. And I like the fact that they're getting up into the choke point. Haiba, though, taking a little bit of damage and not able to reply at all, but we're about to get into the fight. Focus fire into FC Dynamo.
FC Dynamo goes quite low there, down to about half health. Ilian will be coming out from behind, so keep an eye on him as well. Look at the damage. Ruster finds himself in the middle of an absolute a storm of bullets there as well. LD Next is forced to back away. Haiba will go low here as well. Shanish and Vorsic adding 1-on-1 as well. This seems like a better situation for Schoolbus now as Veko getting chunked down. The overmatch is there for the Schoolbus guys. Eurofish and LD Next is now going to try and make something of this one. LD Next is down to about 60%. Griffin gets chunked low as well. Good focus fire from Kazna, but will it be enough?
I'm not quite sure. We do have Arclit finally going down. LD Nexus and Elian need to regroup. They are completely split, and without that, they won't be able to keep the damage up. Elian is not able to help LD Nexus in this situation.
LD Nexus just going to get sandwiched up there as well when heartbreakingly for Kazna they are to split through the middle. But Schoolbus showing some excellent team fight coordination, and that's exactly what they're going to need to get the rounds off a team like the Kazna crew.
Absolutely perfect. It was a little bit late, we were thinking, but they were able to make it work and adjust to the situation, respond accordingly.
So FC Dynamo there rubbing his hands together. He's just warming up. You know, it's funny, we saw so many 5-0s, 5-1s yesterday. It's taken us to the quarterfinals to see some of these closer matches, but we can expect more of the same from these guys. Vetso, a little bit irate about that one. It seemed like Kazna were confident. They were matching at least the maneuvers of Schoolbus here through the middle of the map as well. And let's be real here as well. Schoolbus have technically one less head-to-head fighting tank, okay? With Arclit playing that M44. Going head-to-head in that sort of situation without any setup doesn't really intuitively seem like the best sort of situation for Schoolbus.
Yeah, you are entering that battle with one less, hard-hitting tank.
One less brawler.
Yeah, one less brawler, really, thank you. But you do have a damage multiplier. It's someone who can fire at one part of the map, shift to the other, or fire up and over cover from time to time. Also, that HE can have a high variance of performance. You can get hits onto little parts of any tank, T-54 lightweight being one that's a little tricky. but you can take out a few crew members, force some kits, maybe a track here and there. But you can also really underperform, hitting the wrong part of a tank and not being able to deal as much damage as you want. That variance can come into your favor. It can work against you. It really depends on how you play it. And the way that Schoolbus is enacting this M44 is risky, but you can have some incredible performance.
So obviously you do get a virtual overmatch scenario created when you've got an artillery that is sort of on point. But when you're trying to be dynamic, we know artillery can't move and fire. They need to sit tight and they need to take the shot. Steps is always going to be a map where you need to have the flexibility to make rotations and respond to things. Kazna crew now attacking. So bearing in mind, of course, that Schoolbus had an RT on the attacking side. Does this change things up for Schoolbus? Do they stick with the RT? Maybe they can use it to greater effect now as defenders.
That's what I was thinking as well. As a defender, you know, usually you get some positions which are in that low ground on the east. Stick the M44 in there. He's got a great arc. Can fire up and over a lot of positions that many other RT choices would not allow you to do. Not a huge amount of damage, but if you're able to chunk away at your opponent and stop Kazna from being able to attack, really just showing up, posturing, as it were, and saying, this is not somewhere you can attack. You have to leave, or you're going to have to stop, and you're going to have to try and whittle us down before you attack us. If they can do that, you might be able to see success in artillery here. But if they can't force Kazna to back off or really slow down, they're not going to be given enough time to make RT work. They could switch it out, though, because I think Kazna's expecting this M44 at this point.
All right, well, let's see what the goal is going to be for Kazna, of course. Now, they're going to be on the attacking side here. Let's see if they can continue to sort of work on that momentum. They build up a little bit. Getting that first round is a huge boost for a team. It makes you realize that even though earlier on you might have been feeling, I don't know, unconfident or whatever, now you get a sort of a realistic gauge of how you stack up against the team. And honestly, if I was Kazna right now, I'd be feeling pretty good about it. Now they have the chance to, you know, create the play. They now have a chance to sort of force the envelope. Let's see what lineups they go with here.
Well, we've got a bit of a switch up, actually. We've got Euralfish in the M44 this time, and Arclet's now going to be playing in a T-37. So Kazna's bringing Schoolbus's strategy right back at them, saying, all right, let's see how we do in this.
Let's see who can do it better. Euralfish known as, the trade.
Oh, good.
Oh, yes.
Oh, goodness.
So obviously, this is a great spot if you can get up there. Schoolbus committing a good deal of resources in this early stages to try and shove FC Dynamo up on towards the hill. It's not going to be easy, but I think he might just get there. So, now with that in mind, bearing in mind that Schoolbus have given up the first minute of manoeuvres here, they've got FC Dynamo into a good position. How did Kazna respond to this? It's tough. This is a set play from Schoolbus.
Yeah, and Haiba hasn't been able to get the spotting necessary to really call this one out. FC Dynamo is going to have great shots into many of these positions. The T-37, though, is a tell. Arclet, way in the backfield. You didn't see him for an opening scout run. Nothing like that. Kazna might know what's up. They could recognize that, well, you've got FC Dynamo up on the high ground. It makes sense to put the RU up there.
Look at that.
And from here, it's better to attack the west.
And what a perfect vantage point as well for that particular tank. I mean, the gun, 90mm Rheinmetall DM1, 240 damage. The penetration is great as well. It's a pretty accurate gun with a 6.2 second reload. He's in a great spot to lay out some hurt.
The most important part is that the gold rounds are heat, which means they don't lose penetration over distance. However, when you're firing from that high ground in an RU, if you don't have the perfect position, your shell will fall short before reaching the western cap and you will not be able to reset. It's something you have to pay attention to and you have to study just in depth in order to execute on. That is why I think that Kazna crew needs to attack the western cap and not the eastern cap. Attacking the eastern cap, easy. FC Dynamo can fire onto the cap, get resets all day.
Suicide would be absolutely suicide. You can see Schoolbus is set up, almost expecting Kazna to use that valley again, but it's a much different story for Kazna. They're going to move on towards the cap. No one's been spotted yet. The only one I think that they can see is one of the lightweights from perhaps Haiba. It was towards that cap. So almost giving them the inkling that Kazna is still thinking about going to the east, but within reality, they're positioned on the west.
All right, Elian has reversed himself onto the cap, trying to get that minimal amount of his tank onto cap so he can just retreat behind the one destructible building in the immediate vicinity. Anywhere else, and well, you're just out in the open. It's very risky. You can see also that Schoolbus didn't take the time to really destroy that cover on the cap.
They didn't, so they could use that as well. Ilian has two sort of free lives, you could say, or at least free chances to block some damage. Now, what we normally see in this situation is like a team will try and flank up from the middle as well, but Kazna have spread themselves up here. They look like they've set up a little bit. Is this a good enough setup to really deal with Schoolbus trying to push onto them? Because I reckon they're starting to mobilise now.
Yeah, they're going to be getting ready for it. You're seeing Shanish, Nuclear, Apoel, Griffin, all four of them going up to the north. They're going to try and cross at one point, go over the tracks, I expect, and then engage from there. It can be risky, especially if Kazna calls it and then puts equal amount of forces sitting there and waiting.
This cap is ticking over really quickly, already down to 10 seconds. Hyper takes a shot, but this is going to force Schoolbus to push up now over that train line. LD Nexus has to slow these guys down. They cannot be allowed to get the reset. Kazna do not have enough tanks in the vicinity. There's the reset. Ilian cops a shot, and Schoolbus are now pushing forwards. Apoel taken down, quite low here. LD Nexus is in a good spot to lay down some hurt, but Eurofish does drop, so no more artillery on the map for Kazna crew. Schoolbus now creeping up along that train line. They will have the 5 onto 3 or 4. Vetso has to get there immediately now. Ilian getting chucked down. Ilian getting overmatched here. He's going to pull away. He needs to save that gun. He needs it to do damage. Izan and Ruster on the side trying to assist.
And we need to see that collapse faster from Kazna crew. It was a little bit too late. They're losing forces they didn't necessarily need to, and Schoolbus is seeing a lot of success in this attack.
All right, well, Hybrid and Ruster did pick up 2 tanks there as well. Ruster and Izan still fairly healthy as well, but Griffin is looking good. Shanish healthy, FC Dynamo and Vorsik are there. Schoolbus have the right tanks in the right place. Even Arclit now going to be flanking around and getting some side shots on Kazna crew. Kazna crew only win a small proportion of their attacking rounds on steps. Is not a really great statistic for them, and you can see they struggle. They can be attacking, right? They like setting the pace, but once they have to receive a push, they seem to fall apart.
Yeah, they just were not able to respond to that at all. They weren't able to take it, really turn it around, or find a counter. They hesitated. They were not prepared, and those few seconds is all it was needed. And now every single member is incredibly low. 1,200 hit points against Schoolbus is 3,500.
He's there cowering behind a hull there, just trying to avoid damage being coming towards him, but it's going to be a struggle here, really. Only a couple takes left for Kazna. And Hyber as well, with long since gone. LD Nexus last man standing. You saw Shanish and Vorsik just brutally efficient in cleaning up those last couple tanks. LD Nexus falling not long after, and that is why Schoolbus are so scary. They have incredible players with incredible individual skill. They are dynamic, and their team play, especially in those head-to-head fights, is almost second to none.
Yeah, they were playing it a little closer on that counterattack. I was worried. You saw 10 seconds left. Sometimes you're firing on the move at a good 300 meters, your shells will miss. Not able to make them connect from time to time. That could have gone the other way if they hadn't really focused, made their shots, and consistently against multiple opponents as well.
And FC Dynamo had a great position when I think we all appreciated that sort of tank push, but the correct decision was made by Schoolbus in moving in force, right? They've just played whack-a-mole with the Kazna tanks, right? One by one, they pushed over the train line as well, so there's always going to be a modicum of a sort of protection from shots wide, like where Hyber was sitting quite a long way away. Kazna tried to apply a cookie-cutter defensive setup here, tried to cover all their angles, but the problem is you're spreading yourself like not enough butter over too much bread.
That's one way to put it, I think, but FC Dynamo. Remember that? He was throwing himself up into the high ground. I don't think that came into play too much in that battle. You can see how that position can kind of work against you from time to time. I'm wondering if maybe that's not something you want to open up with on the defense from Schoolbus.
Well, the reality is, it was... If Kazna were going to push for an Eastern camp, they would have been just decimated. The position was far too strong, and to be fair, Schoolbus had the tanks in the right place. I mean, sure, it didn't work out. He's in a Sparpanzer RU-251. He can relocate if he has to. He can come down that hill, and we did see FC Dynamo get to the fight where he had to be.
Yeah, it was a little bit behind the C-54s. I'm wondering if maybe a full 5 would have been even more effective. Really taking it to Kazna and just saying, we're dominant here. You don't have a chance. And trying to get in their heads, mess with them in that way. Because if Schoolbus gets an incredibly dominant win where they don't lose a single tank, they only lose 1 maybe, I'm thinking we can start to see that huge momentum shift in favor of Schoolbus. That's my huge worry, you know, that back and forth and Kazna stabilizing, or Schoolbus just catching momentum and just running with it.
I spoke to Arclit this morning, actually, before the games, and he said he is legitimately concerned about the game with Kazna. He was actually more worried about playing Kazna than he was we play Santa Claus in 6 years. They played these guys so much, and they respect Kazna's ability to fight those close head-to-head battles. They think Kazna can dogfight better than them. We haven't quite seen that yet, but let's see what the setup's going to be like now, of course. It's going to be heading into our 4th round. It's a 1-round lead at the moment to Schoolbus, but Kazna they have a chance to bring it back. They are attacking.
Did he happen to actually say why he was afraid, more than that?
Well, the individual skill of Kazna was something he respected, and also they know each other well. They know each other well. It's hard to bring out these surprise tactics when they practice against each other frequently.
All right, we've got full T-54s for the side of Kazna with, of course, that artillery piece and an M44 on the either side. And only FC Dynamo being in an RU-251. The opening move, though, from Kazna, this is bold. It's risky. You can see some success, but I'm seeing everyone from Kazna in the open is spotted. LD Nexus is taking quite a bit of damage on the opening move, but it isn't over yet.
Applewell lost 1,000 health at the start of the last round for no response, and Schoolbus still managed to bring that one back. So let's see what's happened. It's a pylon on towards that eastern cap. Schoolbus have to respond to this immediately. There is not enough time. They aren't in a great position to really respond to this now. What can Arclit do from here? We saw FC Dynamo also get chunked down heavily. He was spotted early on in the piece. They've denied that sort of push-up strategy. Schoolbus have got to respond, and they've got to respond now.
It's got to be Arclit. He has to make the shot, and that looks like it's going to be it. There's no more cap from Kazna. They're going to get off the cap, get into the high ground, begin their engagement, because Ruster is taking too much damage. He is almost down. Artillery shell landing just short. And there it is. That's going to be the kill.
Far too much free damage taken by Ruster there as well. And LD Nexus got chunked. Kazna starting this fight at a bit of a disadvantage until they managed to bring it back. So it is essentially even. Eurofish is still up. He's in a position to fire here as well because a lot of these Schoolbus guys are revealed. It's about hitting those shots though. He's got to justify bringing that M44 onto this battlefield.
I just love the angle, the way he's going to be able to fire into the back of these T-54 lightweights. If he's able to put one right into the engine deck, it's going to be over for whoever he hits.
Kazna have got to maintain their focus now. It's going to be a protracted gunfight. Ilian is forced to back away, try and use one of the hills just to shield himself. But look at the position of Griffin and Nuclear. They are starting to wedge themselves in between Kazna and Eurofish as well. Eurofish, though, with the arty shot on towards Griffin. Beautiful work. He's starting to make it happen on that M44.
That's what we were hoping for, getting that shot right into a weak point on a T-54 lightweight. Front armor's thick enough to the point where when you hit it with an M44, you're not going to really deal that much damage. It's going to be maybe a few hundred, but it's not going to be over. When he's able to put it right into the rear armor, that's when you're going to see those beautiful shots.
Arclit has perfect angle on this cap. He's going to have a crack here. Hyber gets chunked down. That's a great shot from the man. Captain of Schoolbus doing work for the M44. But will it be enough? That's the question. Vorsic now going to go straight into it. Cops the shot from Hyber. Now, Ilian has his head turned away. Vorsic's going to try and put one into him as well. Once he reloads, LD Nexus is really low. Kazna are getting chunked down. It's a war of attrition, and Kazna are losing it.
They just aren't able to deal the damage. Eurofish is still alive, able to do plenty of damage, but Hyber just doesn't have the hit points to sustain. He needed a battle buddy, but no one's there for him. And Schoolbus just absolutely coming out ahead, not losing out in those trades. They were trading just so much more effectively than their opponent.
Eurofish wasn't loaded until sort of the end of that engagement, so now Arclit, well, that was Applewell, should I say, managed to pick him up. Schoolbus making it a 3-1. And that, my friend, is a very strong showing from them on steps.
I think they might be able to run away with this. What do you think?
Well, Kazna get behind early. We've seen it happen. We saw it happen yesterday against Hellraisers, and it was all downhill from there. They couldn't build up momentum. They got tilted, and these guys are emotional. A lot of these guys as well, just in general, they are very animated individuals, right? And they struggle. They struggle under these sort of circumstances. They're used to being on stages. They still get quite nervous, as I'm sure they all do. But Kazna definitely demonstrated a tendency is when they start slipping, well, they keep going.
But when they start to really catch momentum and they get that energy, you can see them do amazing things.
They're running out of rounds to catch it. They really are. Obviously, our second map of this one is going to be Prohorovka. One that Kazna are comfortable on. In fact, their attacking percentage wins on this one is 80%. So 8 out of 10 games, they're winning on the attacking side. Initially, I think it's going to be the Schoolbus, Kazna defending on this one. So a little bit of a different situation. Talk me through Prohorovka. Talk me through what we can expect to see from Kazna now defending, but trying to scrape together some rounds. I mean, it's 3-1. It's not over yet. But Kazna crew have to start putting some more rounds in their pocket.
Yeah, remember, I believe it was Kazna versus Arete on Prohorovka earlier in the tournament, and we saw that absurd aggression and how Kazna was able to react and handle it. I think after that experience, they're going to be much more prepared for any aggression out of Schoolbus, especially if it's coming right over the middle, which appears to be where they favor in their strategies.
It is important to know that Kazna did drop around on Prohorovka to Arete. However, They generally have seemed quite comfortable on this one. It's really going to be a matter of coordination here as well. Can they make the moves without sort of being detected as well? Can they use that train line? We've seen a lot of teams will actually push towards that eastern cap, set up there as well, get a T32 right up against the train line and make it so it's very, very hard for anyone to sort of push over towards them, because by the time they get there, they've already taken a bunch of hits from a T32.
Using a T32, maybe a T69 seems like something they would do.
Shanish did use one yesterday.
That's exactly what I'm thinking as well. If they use that, it can work as an anchor around which the team can kind of just stay in a close proximity, flexing from east to west and wherever they need to be to respond to their opponent. I think you were bringing up that loss, by the way. I think that a loss will teach you a lot more about yourself than any victory will. So taking any lessons from that, you know how to respond to opening aggression, you know your opponent has momentum in this series, you need to be able to respond to that, shut it down, and just slow everything down for a minute. Just one battle. Maybe get a win, and then from there, you might be able to turn things around. Set Schoolbus in an uncomfortable position, and then start thinking about strategies from there, because Kazna crew's gonna start playing catch up soon. They're gonna be thinking too much about what they did wrong or what went wrong and how to fix it more than how to catch ahead of their opponent if they cannot get tempo in this.
They need to generate it from somewhere. I mean, it's a new map, it's a clean slate as well. Another map that both teams are sort of familiar on. Kazna crew has got to be something a little bit different. It's got to be something a little bit special for us here. Let's see if they can bring it out. We're onto the map of Prohorovka, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be a cracker. Kazna crew at a 2-round deficit, should I say. Vetso's got his lucky poker chip, by the way. Always brings that to his events. Always sort of holds on to it during the games. He's going to be needing to rely, on some of that luck for this match.
Might need to cash it in, is what you're saying.
Well, I mean, they don't need to cut their losses yet. They've still got a few more rounds to make up as well. Stony-faced and silent, Schoolbus as well. They know what they have to do. They're already out to a lead from here. It's just a matter of executing correctly. Kazna crew looking to throw a spanner in the works there. Tank lineups, what have we got?
All right, Schoolbus bringing a perching in this one. I was thinking T32, maybe T69, something like that. We were talking about that before this, but a perching is an excellent choice. I really love the tank. It's so flexible, consistent fire. It's like a T32 that just moves a little faster. Armor isn't as good on the turret, but very effective all the same. This opening move from Kazna, though, onto the enemy side of the map is incredibly bold, but they could catch Schoolbus off guard.
Well, you can see Nuclear has actually set up here with the perching, so he's in a position where he can make sort of spots, and Griffin actually was seen. Ilian and Vetso both spotted. Eurofish trying to get up and have a crack at Griffin, but no good. And look where Shanish and SC Dynamo are set up here, so this is very, very dangerous, and it's where that a sort of pincer can be in the... Vetso got double tapped there, I'm pretty sure. He gets chunked down. Kazna crew now realise that this is actually a reasonable setup they're going to be pushing into from Schoolbus. Kazna are defending. Maybe they need to have more of that mentality.
Now, Kazna clearly was trying to set tempo in this, but they made something of a mistake, I think, which is that they didn't cover that approach well enough. M41s were in the back, ready to cover, but they don't bring enough damage to really scare Schoolbus off. They can start backing up, pop back out of here and there and deal that damage, but they are going to start transitioning, which I do like. Schoolbus is going to pressure the northern cap, force Kazna to make some decisions, maybe find them in the middle of a transition, or if they make any mistakes or any miscalls, misreads, that will be the end of them as they try to take this back from Schoolbus.
Right, giving over map control now to Kazna crew. You can see the two M41 Bulldogs are up on the southern side of the train line, and a shot went into FC Dynamo as he tried to back off. So Kazna crew now starting to take up their positions. LD Nexus and Rasta are close to the village. Eurofish not far from the action, but both M41 Walker Bulldogs are inbound. Isner actually looks like he's going to be heading up the hill to try and get some sort of vantage.
That is the absolute best thing you could do in this situation. If we can see an M41 on the high ground and some cover pressure from the west, that's going to keep any kind of tanks from Schoolbus getting up there. Oh, we might see a 1v1, although we could see cover from Eurofish if he holds back and if Ruster sees him at least.
Shots go out towards the hill, and Arclit getting baited into that engagement. Isner still standing, and a great follow-up from Kazna crew. This is what we've been looking for from them for the entirety of steps, and now they're bringing out for us on Prohorovka. They move in towards the village. Hyper's still healthy. Kazna crew, you can see they're just they cannot wait to get to grips with Schoolbus right now. Vorsic backing away. Nuclear gets chunked down. Kazna crew looking far better on this particular occasion, and Vorsic forced to back away as well.
Schoolbus has to run. They have to salvage the situation. They have so many tanks that are solo. Nuclear's going to have to stay behind. He will not be able to escape. Delay as long as you can. Try and get everyone out of here so that maybe something can happen later down the line. Schoolbus can try to just create a crossfire, maybe bait them out, but they are just going to push in, trade a 1-for-1. Griffin will go down soon, but can they deal a little bit more damage, come out ahead in some trades, and bring this back into an even standing?
Kazna, marginal advantage right now, especially in terms of tanks here. They're going to jump on towards Borsig as well. He forced to reload. Eurofish will pick him up. Applewell is in the vicinity as well, but he takes a double shot. 468 shaved right off him now. Ilian heads to the side. Does he want Shanish or Applewell? They're trying to get the overmatch here. Schoolbus micromanaging well, but there are just too many Kazna crew players. They're going to get gunned down. This is carnage, and Kazna finally in the driver's seat.
That's absolutely what we were looking for. We were looking for that tempo, that control. And you can see it right now. They know exactly what they wanted to do, and they have executed perfectly. It looked like Schoolbus walked right into it.
Really, really good play now. FC Dynamo just going to get revved to death. Kazna crew pick one up. They needed that game. It was a clean slate, a new map, a new approach as well. And you can see that Isne just loosening himself up. There was a beautiful push up the hill for him. But even better than that was the coordination for Kazna to know to give him some overwatch, to get some crossfire onto him. And Arclit just disintegrated.
It was a little bit hard to read at the beginning. Right there, you saw that opening push. I was worried for Kazna because it didn't have a lot of depth in the crossfires. You couldn't quite cover everyone very evenly or punish every single attack and trade out very evenly in those situations. But once Kazna went into stage 2 of that, where they knew that Schoolbus was going to go north, they knew they were going to just kind of herd them in that direction. They could bring the M41s around through the south, put one on the hill, and cover the position, take control. Schoolbus had to back out. They could not stay in that area. They had to try and salvage the situation, and they didn't make that choice fast enough, and they didn't make it clean enough.
Do you think perhaps the Schoolbus sort of allowed themselves to be herded in? Because initially it seemed like a reasonably good setup. They had FC Dynamo and Shanish on the south themselves. They were perched up on the railroad. The initial shots traded were vastly in favour of Schoolbus there, actually. A few guys were quite low. Isner actually got chunked down in the mid. But then they sort of backed up. Almost like Schoolbus drew their forces in tighter around them, but that allowed position to be gained by Kazna. They just went through the middle of the train line, of course, used the hill with Isner there, and they just got, they got cut off.
Yeah, it was perfect. Think about this. Your opponent shows up on the southern part of the map, west of the train tracks, opposite of you. You've gone with an eastern opening, and you look at the map and you say, there's a lot of enemy tanks over here. They're completely unable to cover their cap. And what's one of our objectives? It's the cap. Usually not the most reliable one, because the cap timer is a little long, and a lot of these teams bring very fast lineups to respond to that. But what other choice do you have then? Well, let's just go north. We'll put pressure on that. They'll make a mistake trying to come stop the cap, right? But you don't leave someone on the hill, because that's a weak position that can easily be taken out and crossfired by Kazna's current setup.
Especially in a Walker Bulldog as well. I mean, there's 10 shots auto-loaded? Yeah, it's crazy. So, I mean, he has the ability just to float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. Let's see what this next match will bring for us. This is a chance for Kazna to bring it to 3-3. We may even see a decider map in this case. Kazna crew in the red defending, Schoolbus blue attacking.
All right, we have almost a mirror with FC Dynamo and that RU251. I love that they complement their lineup with that one tank, but the full T54 M41 Walker Bulldog lineup, this is going to be a clash right in the middle as the Kazna crew is going up and over.
First shot's coming out here, Applewell getting cut down on towards the side. Nuclear goes low. You can see Vetso and LD Nexus trying to cut off Shanish and FC Dynamo for the rest of their team. Oh, it's carnage! Eurovision Vetso opening up the account. Shanish now forced to back away. He's got Vetso sliding him up there with the gun. Hyper's pushing straight towards him as well. Kazna crew, I mean, it's still even Stevens. Arclit obviously on that flank, gets ahead. Griffin goes low, but he still manages to pick up Isner. Vetso responds. Vorsic now and Arclit are split up. They get the 3v2 overmatch here. Vorsic's going to get jumped on, and these T54s from Kazna are about to do some serious work. There's not much they can do. Will they split their focus? No. They're going to focus down Vorsic. There's not much he can do. Hyper already knows that Kazna have got this. It's just Arclit left, and he is running for his dear life.
He just is still on reload. He can't help in this fight. You can ignore him until you deal with that T54 lightweight, and just, well, a few minutes later, it's over.
Oh, yes. Kazna crew is in the house.
They really took that one straight to him. You saw they were up and over the hill well before their opponent. Schoolbus is sitting on the low ground, waiting for it. I liked the focus early into Nuclear, knowing that he's an excellent player, and especially when you have these T54 lineups, he's the one to focus down.
So that was defensive lineups here. That was the defensive side from Kazna crew for those first two maps. Didn't look very defensive.
I like that.
So now what? Can they kick it up a gear? Will attack look different for them, from the outset at least?
Well, let's think about the times these guys have fought before. Once Kazna has been able to grab momentum in a series when they have won, look at the way that they've played before.
There's a lot riding on this one as well. Schoolbus, no, they had, honestly, a successful day one. They are the highest seed in this matchup. Kazna struggled a little bit. I mean, yes, they beat Arete, but their match against Hellraisers was just not pretty at all. It was actually unacceptable, to be fair, if you're a Kazna player.
But you were talking about this before. They always have a rough day one. It's just the kind of thing that Kazna struggles with at a live event. They don't get comfortable too fast.
At some point, you've got to be worried about leaning on your day two performances too much. I mean, they could have got themselves arguably a better seed here. Obviously, they could be going up against probably Yato would be Kazna's opponent, who I think after sort of having dealt with Arete as well, Kazna have a bit of an understanding of what the style of play is coming out of that region. I feel like they would have been able to be a little bit more confident here, plus the fact that those teams wouldn't have had as much intel on Kazna as Schoolbus do.
Perhaps. Although I think Kazna's grabbed momentum in this. I think Kazna looks really good. What do you think? Do you think Schoolbus can bring this one back? I have my doubts.
We're talking about momentum here, and that's good. Kazna definitely have that in spades, and they can capitalize off that. But Schoolbus are too good individually and as a unit. They're too good just to let the match get away from them. There'll be something different here. They'll generate a different strategy. They'll pressure Kazna in different ways to the way they have before. But this is really where we start to see the balance tip. It's 3 rounds apiece, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be back on the Prohorovka. This time, the Kazna crew are going to be attacking.
And they look much more confident right now. You're seeing they've woken up. They've really gotten juices flowing. I think Kazna's going to go all the way with this one.
I mean, it's a star-studded lineup. Hyber, LD Nexus. Both these teams have such incredible players. Ruster, of course, for Kazna. These are 2 superstar teams and 2 of the very best in Europe now going head-to-head. What are we seeing in these early stages?
Well, we're seeing a nice western push from Kazna. You're seeing those shots fired are right into the buildings, I believe, in the middle. They're looking to take down maybe that cover, try and maybe remove that for later so that members of Schoolbus won't be able to do anything. But that mid push from Schoolbus, everyone right up and over. Take a look. Well, nothing here. Let's back off, get into better positions. Let's set up for plan A.
It seems that Schoolbus were feeling a little bit more confident now, pushing forward on this defensive side. Kazna crew attacking, but their approach seems to belie the fact they're sitting right back on that K line. They're waiting for spots. They're going to give Schoolbus time to set up.
And time to make mistakes, time to walk straight into this trap. It's a very delicate situation. Now, if you're going to set up in the very southwest, you have to set up at a position you're actually not going to spot your opponent too soon. Because when you're spotted, Sixth Sense tells you, well, your opponent is in an area in this vicinity. You can tell based off of that what the most likely positions, and there's the first spot. 1 tank though, only 1. But will Schoolbus figure this out, put the pieces together?
But see, interestingly enough, what Kazna have done is put the majority of their force sort of west of that road. So they're going to be obscured by the tree line for that little bit longer. They might be able to spring a trap here on Schoolbus. Their entire strategy was sort of hard to read, but look at Easy getting chucked down. Now here's the fight. Benzo picks up forcing. Shadis going to get run into. This is the Kazna crew we know and love. Shadis goes down as well. Nuclear just trying to get the heck out of
This is very delicate. Right now they can't stay together. They have to stay focused. If Kazna loses that, they will be torn apart by those members in the north from Schoolbus.
Alien has to stay alive right now. He's in the mix. Russell now gets pushed on towards by Arctic, but Arctic is low as well. 1 more shot and he will be down. It's so even in terms of health points here. This could go either way. It's a 4v3 situation. Applewell now going to have to come back. Rust is low. Eurofish is low. LD Nexus is low. All of Kazna are low. Vetso a little bit healthier than the others, but this is going to go down to the wire.
Absolutely. Look at Kazna. They have less hit points, more tanks on the battlefield, but Schoolbus just falling behind now as Griffin is getting focused. Good play from Kazna to clean this one up.
Griffin takes 2 shots. Eurofish is somehow still standing. And individually, Schoolbus now falling over here. They weren't able to make it happen. I mean, we saw a couple of shots there from Griffin that really missed. Alien survived for far longer than I think any of us would have expected him to. In that sort of engagement, he managed to distract at least 3 or 4 tanks from Schoolbus, and the rest of Kazna just rolled over the top. Now Applewell trying to hang on here. There is a chance. It's a slim one though. 370 hit points. He's going to get rammed. He's going to get turned around. Kazna 4 and 3. They bring it right back.
I feel it. I'm feeling Kazna. They look focused. Their execution on that play was surprising. It's a head game. That's all it is. Send that T-54 out. He gets spotted. It doesn't matter.
Beautiful.
Everyone else is on the 1-2 line. And guess what? Schoolbus isn't going to sit someone passive on the 1-2 line waiting for that. Usually you'll lose that tank and you won't be able to respond properly.
The way that strategy was constructed was so beautiful. I mean, it's a little bit hard to see from the screen because we can see who's spotted on both sides. Kazna crew sent the majority of their force sort of far to the left side, okay? There is a tree line there that can obscure your tanks as well. They are low profile, the T-54 lightweights, and there is a slight sort of ditch there as well. So it's actually very, very tricky to see those very squat tanks over the top. And they put one sort of bait T-54 into the dead zone as well, that little bowl. And then Schoolbus had no idea what hit them. They were not ready for this. Kazna, despite letting Schoolbus set up, they still managed to pull the wool over their eyes and come out strong. Very, very impressive setup. That was beautiful.
And the opening volley, making the connections, you have to give it to them. Not individual players executing when it is absolutely necessary. Missing those shots early on, it would have been devastating for Kazna because they would have all been on the reload. They would have all been walking into a bunch of guns ready for them, and the focus would have turned everything on its head. Kazna had to execute individually in that situation, and they really did. I think they could follow this one up. There's one more attack they have to succeed on. Schoolbus, though, can tie this up and take it to the tiebreaker.
It's going to be such a close game from here on out. I mean, Schoolbus, individually, we've really hyped up them as a team, of course, with the new additions of FC Dynamo, of Vorsic, and of Griffin. These guys coming over from the best teams in Europe, of course, Vorsic from Virtus Pro. These guys individually are touted as some of the very best. But Kazna, a team that has been together, at least in this form, for so long, are able to put them to the test and come out on top in the 1v1. Of course, you've got stars like Elian. LD Nexus is a fantastic player. Vetso is huge. Even Isla and Eurofish now coming into the lineup, are quite fresh, are really doing work. You can see those pickups paying off for them. But Kazna, you've got to be proud about them. They've always stuck to their guns, and now they're really putting it to Schoolbus.
Yeah, I just took a look at Kazna. They look so much more focused. For a moment, they were looking happy, but now they know this is the time to close it out. They have to be serious. They cannot get loose. They cannot get overconfident. They have to rein themselves in. Looking at Schoolbus, I don't know, man. I'm not confident looking at those faces. They do not look as happy as they did when they started. They look like they might be losing that focus.
Last time we saw these two teams play Prohorovka, it was at the final of Season 5, and Schoolbus went 3-1 on this map. Kazna are turning it around, again proving to us that our statistics don't exactly mean a whole lot in the grand scheme of things.
I mean, when you need thousands and thousands of battles between these two to really, really, truly find out absolutely how they're going to play in every situation and how all of that's going to pan out. It's difficult because these guys don't get to play those thousands of battles. You only get maybe 8, 9 battles between each other at a time.
Now look at this, something new, something fresh from Kazna crew. Oh, Ryan, yes! What about their lineup though? Give me a bit of an idea of what they're pulling here.
All right, we've got the standard T-54 M41 Walker Bulldogs. Other side, standard T-54 RU-251 and 2 M41 Walker Bulldogs by Arclit and Applewell. Opening setups, you've got something very conservative from Schoolbus, holding back, putting some tanks out on the perimeter for some scouting. They don't want to make a mistake. They don't want to walk into a trap. They don't want Kazna to be able to pull something on them again. They standard play.
I raised my eyebrow here a little bit. They've got those 2 Bulldogs. We're up on the hill. They might not stay there as well, but I mean, they'd struggle to really give good crossfire if the fight is happening amongst the village. It's not easy to really get those shots and make them count.
That high ground, though, is an alternate angle, and it can work for them. Also, keeping the M41s on that high ground, you have to clear it. If you were to just bypass that location in an M41, what if they'd snuck something up there themselves?
Sure.
That would just be
devastating.
Devastating, and probably a little embarrassing way to lose a battle.
Griffin wants to try and light up. He actually gets spotted himself in the process, so he is now revealed, as well as Applebow and FC Dynamo. So a lot of information being gathered by Kazna crew now. Hyber sort of sharing that around. LU Nexus and Eurofish all spotted. So the cat is essentially out of the bag at this stage. Both teams know what the go is. The question is now, will Schoolbus be the ones to retake? It's always a retake situation for defenders. As defenders on Prohorovka, you're pretty much attackers.
Look at this, right up and over. They've decided, let's abandon the cap. Elian, though, is getting torn apart. He is way too exposed. There is not enough support, and he is taken down by Nuclear. 1 tank off the battlefield, hit points in favor of Schoolbus and guns.
The star player for Kazna crew gets stopped in his tracks, and he gets one in his tracks as well. Arclit now going to have to deal with Eurofish and Hyper, those 2 M41 Walker Bulldogs. It is a dogfight if I've ever seen one. They will pick him back up. That is that tier 7 tank down. But losing Elian so early on for Kazna has got to hurt right now. They've got to make up for it. Nuclear here is in the middle of a dogfight, takes 2 shots towards his rear. He's got to get back over the trade line. He can't make it. That's a good clear around for Kazna crew. Can they capitalize?
He just hit the train trying to go over. Nuclear of all players in a T54 lightweight was the guy that makes the mistake. That's so painful. Now Kazna can follow this up, start getting the momentum and clean up. It should be over right now.
Vorsic is going to get jumped on. Kazna crew have the overmatch in the middle of the map. Vorsic holds on for just a little bit longer. Kazna crew have a distinct tank advantage. 3 tanks left. This is Schoolbus trying to hold on. This is them trying to stay in the tournament after such a massive day one. Kazna crew have now just swamped them, and Schoolbus look like they're struggling to come up with answers here. It's about a 700 hit point lead. Kazna crew teasing with the cap. They know the remainder tanks of Schoolbus are fairly high in health, but look at Ruster, look at Isdare, look at LD Nexus. Kazna crew are more than happy to take a fight.
But these positions out of Kazna, there is some weakness that they're going to lose Vecco. Ruster's going over. If Shanish is able to respond properly and the M41, Applewell, they could deal with this situation. Kazna cannot get overconfident, but taking down Griffin should be it. They should be able to close it from here.
2v4 situation, and here's Applewell. Ruster still wants a piece of him. At least he can get some damage up. The round is beautiful. He was a lot lower in health, but he still managed to trade his life for his opponents. And now Shanish, the last hope of Schoolbus, goes down. Kazna crew turn it around. They will be a legend. Schoolbus are going home. I cannot believe it.
That was absolutely beautiful. Right at the beginning, a rocky start for Kazna. They are able to pick up that first win. Schoolbus, though, that 3 in a row on steps, that was worrying. I was starting to think Kazna was not going to be able to do it, but they were able to stop it. Right when the map switched, switching everything up, grabbing the tempo, and really just playing a head game with their opponent, showing you just how familiar they are with Schoolbus and everything about them, the way they think, their strategies, their individual players. You could see them targeting the strongest people on the battlefield, the strongest positions on the battlefield perfectly.
This is like a completely new team. Kazna crew have somehow defied the games yesterday. They brought it back against Schoolbus. I mean, one of the highest rated teams at this event. Guys who were absolutely dominant yesterday. Sure, they had an easier group. Ostensibly, Kazna had it tough. Kazna go down to Hellraisers. I mean, something must have happened last night. There must have been a real G up, and that's maybe why Hyber is one of the best captains in this region. But who would have thought the Schoolbus would fall to Kazna so early on in day 2?
Well, think about it. Like, we were talking about the emotions that Kazna ride on, how it can really be a detriment to them, but it can also be such a benefit to them. They can catch a little bit of a wind and just ride it all the way to victory, getting that momentum and just cleaning it all up.
But even as a momentum team, they lost momentum. There's no doubt about it. Their steps play it was a struggle for them. It really was. But they managed to turn that around despite being down. That's why Kazna are the best team in Europe.
I think they had a good head on their shoulders before they started the match. I think that whatever pep talk you were thinking they had, I think it really worked, and they were able to maintain focus even through some losses. You have to be prepared to lose a few battles in a row, because it happens. You're going to drop some battles or matches you don't think you should. Someone's going to make a mistake. They're going to be a few meters off of a good position. One of your shells is just going to bounce when you thought it should have penned. Something like that.
In the first interview that we saw this weekend, Hyber said it would be a case of step by step. After yesterday, they knew that they had still qualified for day 2, but yeah, they were hard on themselves. They were annoyed that they had sort of dropped so badly to Hellraisers. But Hyber was always saying, it's like, tomorrow is a new day. It is a new start, a clean slate for us. Kazna crew always seem to be the masters of their own destiny here, and they're off to a fantastic start. I mean, we got to talk about Prohorovka a little bit more. It was a different strategy every single time. You've got to love a team that could be so confident in executing, essentially 4 different strategies, really one after another, all with wild success.
Although they showed quite a bit of their playbook in this one, will they be able to bring these strategies against opponents further down the line? And are there opponents watching right now taking notes, and will they be prepared when they face them in the future?
Well, we'll have to find out, because we've gone across to the stage right now. Paul Challoner is on stage with Elian, of course, from Kazna crew, to talk about that map. Take it away.
Explain to me right now how fast your heart is beating.
How fast what?
How fast is your heart beating right now?
Actually, I was pretty calm on Prohorovka, to be honest.
When you finished the match, though, what was the atmosphere like amongst you? I know you're such a tight group of players and you get on really well, but what was the atmosphere like between you?
Yeah, actually we are really pumped up when we are finishing the match, but this time it was quiet, just nobody talking, finishing the game, like strange.
Why?
I don't know, maybe they expected that. No idea.
Okay, that's a little bit of a change because we know you as Kazna crew as being a very emotional team. You know, when you're winning, everyone's happy. When you're losing, everyone's grumpy and arguing. And so how do you square that away? How do you come here today after playing not very well yesterday by your own admission and today just playing so well after being 1-3 down?
Well, actually, many people were asking us if we threw the game yesterday on purpose because we played really bad. But well, maybe yes, maybe not. But I don't know. Maybe it was meant to be that we play Schoolbus and win.
Playing them again after winning the European final against them, what were your thoughts? Were you thinking different strategies, something crazy? I mean, you've got Eurofish back there who used to be in Spala, who's just, comes up with these crazy ideas. Was there anything in your minds about that today?
We wanted to play the game, like no real super strategies, just play the simple stuff and execute it good. But Schoolbus have really good lineup now, like they took Vorsik, FC Dynamo and Griffon, like 3 top players, so we're pretty scared for the match, even though we didn't, we tried to not show it, but we really were scared.
So let's talk about the match a little bit. 1-3 down, but it should have been 2-2 really, shouldn't it?
Yeah, we all think we could have won the second steps defense. Like, we had everything going for us and then some stupid idea came. Somebody shouted something and the rest followed and that's it.
Okay, and so we move on to Prohorovka. You guys have been great on that many times in the past, but I also had a few dodgy games in there. So were you confident? Were you worried? What were your thoughts heading into the match?
Yeah, Prohorovka is one of the maps that you always win close or lose close. It's not like decisive victory. So yeah, we are scared of this map, but we try to keep the confidence up, go for it, try. If it works, it's good. If it doesn't, it's bad.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, Kazna crew are through to the semi-finals. Congratulations, Ilian, and of course his teammates. Let's find out from Joshua Gray and the guys at the analysis desk what they thought of Kazna crew's victory.
Thank you, Paul. Congratulations to Kazna crew. What a night and day difference from yesterday. And we saw it as soon as they walked onto the main stage. Their facial expressions were different, probably because they knew they had better map choices this time. But what a turnaround. Fantastic work by Kazna crew. Before we jump into the different battles, though, I want to know, what was the vote results for these two teams?
So the votes actually were 42% for Schoolbus and 58% to Kazna crew. After several matches, the numbers jumped a little bit, as you can say, and afterwards it still came back to 42 to 58.
All right, so pretty close result. I think one of the closest ones we've had for any of our teams.
Yes, that's right.
All right, well, we do have to say goodbye to Schoolbus. We wish them all the luck in the next season, and they put on one heck of a show. Let's talk about the first battle. Mojo, you have a replay ready for that first Kazna crew victory.
Yes, I want to show some specific moment here that decided the battle. It was pre-arranged by Kazna, but this is what happened. This is Applewau in position trying to spot, and they are not aware that Kazna already rotated all around, and there is he realizing it in this moment, and we see pa 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 pa, and the guy's gone.
Wow.
And after that, after a brief moment, they lost another tank. Now, what happened here, actually, is Kazna left Rooster in this area here, in a slight cooldown. He was a bait. All the time bait. They presumed Kazna has people here. But what Kazna did is sneak spotters like this and like this. And they made a perfect crossfire. All angles, watching everywhere where there can be. They caught them from the back, annihilated them. And that was a good play. That was smart play, that was aggressive play, that is Kazna style. And I really do not understand why they took RT against Arclit, who is far superior RT. They entered mind games with Schoolbus, who outsmarted them 3 times in a row. I don't understand that. That was not needed. If they played like this, mobile, like on Prohorovka, this would be far earlier done. Like we had a kind of a cold war here. Daki was Schoolbus side, I was Kazna side. Will here was totally neutral. He was like, oh, this is a really nice game.
Yeah.
But this is the essence of how I see it.
Well, in that essence, though, breaking down what Schoolbus was able to do right on the attacks and then the defense on steps, Was it because Kazna Crew was not playing their game? They weren't playing their style? And Schoolbus goes, oh, you're trying to copy us with this already? We know how to play this game better. And they did so in those 3 games.
When Schoolbus was on the defense, they pushed the RU up on the hill. Kazna knew that. And what they did smartly, they backed everybody off the hill again, and they went to the A6 corner unspotted. Arclet peeked up at E7 above hill, and Haiba, who was spotting the north, shot him. So he fell back down. At that point, Schoolbus pushed back over unspotted. So Eurofish and the RT for Kazna thought he was safe, but in reality he got shot by 6 tanks that pushed over the rails, and after that Kazna was too slow to react to that because they had no info that it would happen. And in those little skirmishes, Schoolbus just seemed to excel. They seemed to go over the rails when they had to, and seemed to have the perfect focus fire, which they were lacking on Prohorovka.
And then moving on from steps into Prohorovka, the complete turnaround, the shift, and as Randall pointed out earlier, the momentum change that happened between those 2 teams, we see that it's not as often as you would think. It's not a hugely prevalent thing, but when we do see that map reset, teams will take a breath, they'll reconfigure what they're going to try to do, they'll look at the mistakes, wash it off, and then move on. And teams that are able to do that are able to adapt and be flexible to what's happening in the moment compared to, well, this is what our plan was, let's stick to the plan. And that can be a little bit debilitating for some teams. So not the case for Kazna Crew, and the crowd was really rooting for them in map 2. But what was it about Prohorovka that they executed so well to get those 3 wins in a row?
I think it was the fact that they took 2 Walker Bulldogs. They gave up on that artillery pick that you pointed out that they were trying to match up with Schoolbus. And then the Walker Bulldogs just provided such an immense amount of firepower at the beginning of the engagements. Hardly ever were they caught and killed before they were reloaded, which you saw happen a couple of times on steps. So I think that really was a very key difference in the game.
I also saw a lot of great movement and focus fire, just principles and fundamentals that these teams always stick to, but the execution was better from Kazna Crew. And that always makes a difference. And that difference can be 2 or 3 milliseconds sometimes, but that type of discipline is huge.
Initially, I thought that Schoolbus were going to be able to brawl better. We saw that on the first map, and in those kind of one-on-one personal engagements, and also in the group engagements where you've got multiple opponents going at a single guy, Schoolbus seemed to be playing better. Then on the second map, we saw a momentum change, and Kazna really took it to them. I think their focus fire was better.
Yeah.
I also feel like Schoolbus did give up important positions though. On their first attack with the Pershing, where they went all to the north side of the village, they crossed over, they took a lot of damage, evening out the damage Kazna took in the beginning, and Kazna went onto the hill, and Schoolbus was reacting poorly in that situation. Also in the game where Kazna was all hiding in the K1 corner, and Nuclear spotted all of them, but they still stayed in the ditch with 3 tanks, which is unbelievable, because they knew that Kazna would come over, and they were not prepared for it. I also think that it was a little bit of a lineup, because Schoolbus was still playing with the RU, which I disagree with in the lot of positions that he was in. In two out of the battles, he was in the front line. So Kazna came over, he did 1 shot, and they just rammed him and killed him instantly. I don't think he contributed to the team. Also, in a lot of situations, he was sniping far away, not with the team, which gave Kazna the edge when they pushed in.
And also the damage control that Kazna Crew had in the final battle when Alien got caught. And we're going, uh-oh, he's caught, he's out. But then Kazna Crew was able to continue to push forward, and they became a 3-on-2 in that defilade, and they were able to focus on those tanks and keep the momentum in their favor. And that's where a lot of teams, once one tank has taken some damage or it's been tracked once or twice, they'll go, oh no, our plan's not working, everybody reset, fall back, get behind something and get away from the shells. Kazna Crew kept moving forward. And I think that was the moment that is going to shape Kazna Crew for the rest of this tournament, is they know how to deal with a crisis. We've seen 2 Kazna Crews this weekend, yesterday's team and today's team. Mojo, is today's Kazna Crew worthy to make it to the finals?
This is Kazna that we are all looking for. They're emotional team, they're fluent, they thrive on things that happen around them. They're reacting to audience, they heard all the cheering and everything. These games were a reflection of it. They really read Schoolbus well, and this is how they're supposed to play, not to enter in some slow-paced games that don't suit their nature. They're not their nature. They need to control the battlefield. When they do it, they can roll anyone out.
Schoolbus read them on the first map perfectly, but on the second map, it was the other way around.
Yeah.
Kazna was doing the plays. Kazna was making Schoolbus think, where are they? We don't see them. We're not spotted. Or what do we do now? What are we going to do now? And it seemed like the coordination they had in the first map, they were losing it on the second map. And Kazna seemed to gain that coordination, which gave them the victories. It wasn't, in a lot of games, it wasn't even close.
4-0.
Yeah, it wasn't even
4-0.
close in a lot of games. Like, Kazna was good at keeping tanks alive. We would end up seeing Schoolbus had more HP, but Schoolbus had like 2 guys alive, partially because the 2 guys were not in the fight enough, sniping away, and Kazna had like 3 guys alive, 2 T-54s and a Bulldog, on equal HP.
And we saw brutal commitment from teammates. Like, they were not hesitating to go, ram,
They went
take damage, do anything to cover a teammate.
Even with
But
100 HP,
We
they
saw
went
Rooster
in.
versus Bulldog. He
just
knew
kept
he will
driving.
die.
Yeah.
He knew
Yeah.
he will die. That was straight flash, bam.
Yeah.
And I will win the game. I don't care.
I don't care if my tank dies, I'm just gonna ram him for 500. I don't care if I'm dead. That's a good mentality.
They got the kill. Yeah, because, you know, if it is a one-on-one scenario that, again, is going to only last 5 seconds long, what's more beneficial? Killing that tank and getting the win, or, well, I don't want to die. That's part of being part of a team, you know, and playing both teams.
You're mine.
Exactly. Got to own that victory. Well, earlier on, you mentioned the audience. They were going nuts for Kazna crew, and they were also cheering on Schoolbus, but we have a lot of people watching online, Ola, that can win some awesome prizes as well, correct?
Yes, that's right. Alienware scavenger hunt is on at wgl.gg/alienware. So you just come in there and answer some questions about Wargaming League. And so you may win Alienware Area 51 personal computer, plus bonus codes are given away as well there. It's wgl.gg/alienware. Also, Intel Alienware MVP voting is on at wgl.gg/MVP. So you have to propose your favorite player to our committee, and the winners will be chosen randomly, not the favorite player, but the winners who actually...
The people that submit.
Yeah,
Yes.
the people that submit. So the prize pool is 3 AMX 1357 premium tanks, 5,000 gold, 2,500 gold, 1,500 gold, 1,000 gold, and also 10 Jinx T-shirts will be given away, as well as 150 bonus codes. So that's a lot.
That is a lot, and that's
Yes.
happening all day today. And we're also doing top 10 tweets today, right?
Yes,
Okay.
with the hashtag the Grand Finals.
Great, great. We want creativity, we want awesomeness, so make sure to send those over on Twitter. Before we go to a break, though, real quick, gentlemen, EL Gaming from China beats Santa Claus 6. That's a huge upset.
I almost fell off this stage when I heard it.
Our faces were like, what?
We never got to see Santa Claus 6 on the main stage.
They look so, I had the pleasure of seeing them yesterday, and they look so dominant.
Yeah, that's the point. They have that team. They're one of the best teams at this, and for Elong to beat them is such a major upset, especially because they're the 2nd seed from the APAC region.
Yeah.
Arete was the 1st seed. Like, Elong, they might have a good momentum to go forward now. I mean...
Did we underestimate them then?
We might have underestimated them. Maybe we didn't look enough at them. Because beating Santa Claus 6 is a hard task no matter what. And 5-2 is a pretty clear score.
Well, a new power is rising from the east, is that we're going to find out this weekend and see if they can continue on into the semifinals and then the finals. That'd be quite the story. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to get set up for the next match in the quarterfinals. You're watching the Grand Finals for the Wargaming.net League. Stay tuned.